Good afternoon, everyone. You're all welcome to another training series organized by Quality Techies. The Quality Techies community is excited to kickstart training for the year 2026. So our major goal for this platform and community is to learn and grow quality together. So in this space for our training today, we have somebody, his name is Mr. Pascal Enyimiri. I hope I pronounced your name well. So before we proceed, I would like to read a short bio about Mr. Chitachi. Just a minute, I got to admit the speaker. Okay, Mr. Chitachi. Sorry. Please, can you, am I pronouncing your name well?
Is the intonation that's wrong? But you can call me Pascal.
Okay, all right. Okay. So Mr. Pascal is a senior quality assurance engineer operating at the vanguard of test automation, DevOps, performance engineering with a distinguished track record at high growth organizations like Indicina, Deal, and Cover 360. Mr. Pascal specializes in architecting resilient testing ecosystems that drives engineering excellence. Mr. Pascal is driven by a radical vision for tool agnostic quality assurance. His ultimate goal is to decouple test logic from execution engines, creating frameworks where a single script can seamlessly traverse different tools by building abstraction layers that democratize complex automation. He empowers QA professionals to deliver production-ready quality from day one, regardless of prior expertise. This approach not only lowers the barrier to entry, but future-proofs testing architectures, allowing teams to switch underlying tools effortlessly without technical depth. He manifests this vision through his impactful open source contributions, which bridge the gap between BDD syntax and modern execution engines. So I want you to drop your emojis and reaction and make welcome Mr. Pascal on this space today, Quality Techies space. Can you just drop your emotion and make him feel welcome? All right, Mr. Pascal, you can have the floor right now. We can kickstart the training. We are well and ready and excited to drink from the well of knowledge you have for us this evening. Thank you for honoring our invitation once again. All right, I'll stop sharing my screen now. You can go ahead and share your screen. Please confirm if you can share your screen, or you need the right.
Stop. Yeah, I need an
okay. I just allowed you now.
Yeah. Can anyone see my screen?
I can only see your face, so I cannot see your screen.
No. No, we can't see your screen, please.
Not yet. Okay.
Yes, not yet.
One moment. I think I'll share my entire screen because in this session, we are likely to engage in coding. partially. So let me see if I can share my entire screen. Okay. How about now?
Yeah, we can see your screen now.
Yes, it's up now.
It's up now.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Adenike. Adenike reached out to me sometime last year regarding this after the talk on Testify for this same K6. She was intrigued by it and decided to bring it to this community. And I'm honored to be here to be part of this community as well. So yeah, kudos to Adenike for bringing this initiative and Quality Techies team entirely. Yeah, so as you know, my name is Pascal. No other introduction other than what we have today. I think that is already been sorted out. Yeah, so essentially, what we are doing here today is to talk about K6, right? K6, one of the leading load testing tools that we have today by Grafana. And what this does is like, creating awareness, right, on the latest K6 builds, and as well let you understand how powerful K6 is right now. So hopefully we use our time right. So one of the fundamental things that we have with K6 currently is that to explore K6, right, one of the core advantages it has is that it's very simple to understand, right? And companies like Shopify and Uber, right, they actually use this K6, right? And to be honest, in the load testing tools that I have used that has to do with code, K6 actually takes the cake. And someone that is coming from a Java background and jumping into JavaScript later on, I found out that K6 is one of the best tools to make use of. And I've used so many, right? And looking at K6, there's not much, setups to do. Just jump on it, get the code, and start writing your load test and other forms of non-functional test. Yeah. So in the second one, which is the setup, right, your first script, right, you have to install K6, right, configure your environment and run your first performance test, right, with a minimal yet powerful script in just 10 lines, right? Another thing we are going to talk about is the core deep dive, right, of the features, right? And this has to do with, mastering the scenarios, the thresholds, the checks, right? The custom matrix, building blocks of effective performance testing. Don't worry, all these things will be covered in this workshop. And by the end of this workshop, you will know what all this means. So we also have to jump into the advanced techniques, right? One of them is the browser automation. Yes, K6 can automate your UI. That's one of the powerful things it has, even as a load testing tool. So you can actually combine both browser test automation and your API test automation to ensure that both of them are correlating. They can coexist, and they can also sorry, is there a question? Someone, I heard a noise. Okay, so one of the things that Cases has is the power of browser automation, right? And we're also going to be looking at authentication flows, right? Data-driven testing and reporting strategies, right? For comprehensive performance validation. Yes. And now the big one, right? Having to merge K6 with Cucumber. That is the major thing that we have today as well. Well, discover, right, BDD, right, that is BDD, that is behavioral driven development, right, performance testing with Cucumber cases, Cucumber steps. So this cases, Cucumber steps, right, currently is in 2.06. This is an error. It's currently on 2.06, right? And what it does for you is this: it brings in both the power of K6 and the power of Gherkin syntax. We already know that the Gherkin syntax is like a simple plain English, right? Where you get to just say some certain things, and just by looking at the syntax, you know what it needs to do. So it's going to be on top of it, and it's going to tell us what we are trying to do in terms of running K6 and building our framework, right? So that's one of the things that we will be touching today. What else? Yeah, and then finally we'll have to do Q&A and some other things that I'll have to share with you. So before I move on, is everyone excited about this event? So I want your emojis to pop up so I'll know how excited are you. So tell me, based on your emoji, how excited are you? I can't see any emojis. Okay, beautiful, 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 beautiful. All right, all right, all right, all right. All right, so by the end of this event, right, you'll be one step powerful. You'll be one step proficient. You'll be one step, how will I put it? One step, a very big, in fact, you're going to be a senior engineer by the end of this, if you put yourself in that position to learn and to understand what is being done today. So yeah, what is Cases? Right? It's an open source developer-centric performance testing tool by Grafana, like I mentioned before. Designed for what? Modern engineering teams. So what is it? It focuses on developer first design, right? Everybody loves JavaScript / TypeScript, right? It's very intuitive, right? CLI first architecture, matrix first philosophy, making performance testing accessible to all engineers, right? So the second thing here is that it's already out there. People are using it. It's trusted, right? And like I mentioned, Shopify is using it, Uber is using it, and some other wonderful companies that we know, right? And it's also modern, right? It supports load testing, stress testing, spike testing, SOAP testing, cloud native, container ready. It has its own Docker, right? Where you can just plug it in, CI/CD integration, all of that. Beautiful. And it's one of these key
Performance
things.
testing using another tool. Cases.
Be that one now.
Sorry, all of you, please, can you please turn off your mic so that there will be no distraction? Okay. Adenike, you can help with that. All right. So the last point here is, metrics first. Now, one of the problems we have with performance testing tools is the fact that able to, give your reports in a proper version, right, to the stakeholders, letting them understand bottlenecks that the system currently has and none of that. But Cases helps to do that already. It gives you like built-in metrics, right, powerful thresholds, real-time dashboards, and very good insights, right? It says minimal setup, but honestly, there is no setup if you are combining it with the Cucumber this thing that I built, right? So first and foremost, I'd like to let you know that the Cases Cucumber step is the first of its kind. There's never been a combination between K6 and any other framework other than this. So this is the first one. So you using it means that you are ahead of the market, right? You are very much ahead of the market when it comes to performance or non-functional testing in general. So yeah, K6 eliminates the complexity of traditional performance testing. Two, unlike legacy tools, K6 uses JavaScript. I mentioned that, a language that most engineers already know, right? This democratizes the performance testing across teams. And the metrics first philosophy means that you don't, guess what matters, right? You define success criteria upfront via thresholds. And K6 tells you if you pass or fail. Real adoption by Shopify and Uber validates production readiness, right? Now, one of the good things here, very simple step. Now, if you are in Linux or in Mac OS, all you just need to do is say brew install K6, right? And for you to have that K6 installed, you must have brew. So on your Mac, you just have to install it using brew, right? Other ways to install it are there as well. For Windows, I think there's Chocolate and some other ways you can install it. You can install it in exe and whatnot. But what you expect to get as of now is actually 1.5.0, but it will be safe for you to take anything from 1.4 or higher, right? It's still safe for you to use it, right? So for Windows, like I mentioned, you can use the Winget or the Chocolate to install it, or even download it from, GitHub. Yeah. So what are the binaries, right? The K6 binaries, right? Requires 0.48 or higher, or even do 1.40, right? Requires what? Java and Node.js. It says optional, but you actually need to have Node.js in your system for you to, have a full project, right? But cases already, once you install your cases and you're running on, Node 16 or above, and you'll be able to run this. So yeah. So another thing again, we'll be able to do, like I mentioned, browser. We have to automate with browser. So it runs with Chromium or Chrome, Firefox or WebKit, right? These are also supported. Yeah, so this is a first script for you, right? Very simple script. There's nothing there. All you just need to do is to import this. Let me explain everything for you. Now, if you look at this, you see VUS means virtual user. What is this? This is telling us that how many people do I need to run this particular endpoint, right? This is like the configuration of everything, right? For me to run a particular endpoint, I want 10 users to hit that endpoint, and the duration, I want them to hit it in 30 seconds. They should be hitting it for 30 seconds, just be hitting it for 30 seconds, right? And that's what it says. And when it's hitting it, what's happening? I want to ensure that as they are hitting it, the status should be saying what 200, right? If it's not saying 200, then log it and tell me what happened, right? So you see all the checks. Now, this is how it works. By running, sorry, this thing is too sensitive. By running K6 run, because that's what you are just going to say, K6 run. By running K6 run, it points to the virtual user first, right? And it points to the duration, like I mentioned earlier. So if it does the check, which is let it be 200, okay, right? If it does the check, whether it's passed or failed, it will now log that check. After logging it, for each test, it has a thinking time to check it, right? So that is why we have that sleep for 1 second, right? Now, let me just quickly move because I really want us to move on to the integrity of the part, which is the core features, right? Now, look at this. constant VUS, right? Constant VUS, ramping VUS, and stages, right? So the VUS, the VU, of course, we mentioned is the virtual user, right? And what we're saying in this constant VUS and all of that is that, first of all, it starts, the example is you start at 5 VUS, then you ramp it to what, 50 for over 2 minutes. That's just a simple, typical scenario that we have, right? And what we call thresholds, right? Thresholds is like, oh, for everything that we do while testing that, right? If you look at this one, P95 less than 500, for instance, for everything that we do while we are testing those endpoints, we are saying 95% of those virtual users, at least 95% of those virtual users, when making their request, the response of that request, like the response time of that request, should not exceed 500 milliseconds. That's what this is. Don't exceed what? 500 milliseconds. So another thing again is error rate. So you can log error rate as well. So if there's a record that failed, maybe the endpoint, any of the users that tries it and it fails, it will also log it and say, okay, for all the people that did it right, some endpoint failed. So I'm logging it. So, but you can do a check that for all the endpoint that failed, it should not be up to 5%. That's what it means there. Error rate less than 5%. Now, that's where the pass or fail criteria, right, comes in, the matrix that comes in, right? So if test, right, the failed test, if it's like P95 latency exceeds 500, like it fails, right? That's where that threshold comes in. We already spoke about checks, right? You can check for status, you can check for response time, content, all of that, right? And that is why we have the example HTTP 200, response contain, success, all those checks, you can have it. Now, groups. Groups is like organized tests, right? It's more like your eat block if you're running all forms of different kinds of tests. It's like your test suite. Let's put it that way. So it's just a logical namespace, right? To organize your tests. So group matrix too comes into play in that angle. Now, what about custom metrics? You can add custom rates like counter, gauge, trend rate. These are stuff that you can look at. Trend and rate, these are stuff that you can look at. Rate is part of them because you can just say, okay, I want an error rate, right? Or a pass rate or a face rate. I want a trend. Different. These are the things that can come up in a test that you can add. All these things can actually they're all custom, so you can just do that. Those are just advanced stuffs that we can do. Yeah, also tagging, right? You can do tagging, right? So the essence of tagging is that you can always filter by name or what kind of test that you're trying to do, right? Method, status, whatever thing that you're trying to do, you can tag it based on that essence. So like load test, stress test, all of that, you can tag it. Moving forward. Now, this is a browser automation in K6. This is a browser automation in K6. Now, for browser automation in K6, it's just the same thing. It's just that the configuration is adding now an option says browser, and you're pointing what browser it's all about, and that's when you start running your test. I think it's avoiding, I don't know, the what they call it. There's a test example down. Yes. There's a test example down. Let me be. It's very sensitive. Yeah. So this is example of, oops. This is an example of the browser. So first of all, you launch your browser just like any other thing, right? Oh, sorry. Very, very sensitive. So you launch your browser, you first of all ignite your browser, then you go to whatever website that you want to do, and then you click on whatever, you locate the locator, right? It's the selector or the locator, and then you do your actions. That is the part, and then you close the page. It's just a simple listen, just like any other thing. But fun fact, right? Under the hood, right? Under the hood, K6 actually uses Playwright for this under the hood. So for those of you who are K6 lovers, I have something for you at the end of this session. And for those of you who are Playwright lovers, the same thing for you, especially you Playwright lovers, I have something at the end of the session. So now this is explaining it, right? Creates isolated bridal concept for each virtual user, and then it navigates to the page, and then it clicks it. That's what happens. But for groups, right, it doesn't use await, right? It doesn't use await because it's always for group. You can wrap, right, synchronous metrics only for group, but there's a way to go around that, of which I will show you in later conversation. It's still the same thing. Yeah. So authentication and data driven, right? We all know about .env. You can add .env to your listen to ensure that some of your some of your secrets are hidden, so that you will not be able to disclose any company data into the system. So it actually supports data driven testing, right? Get the data from somewhere and then try to do. You can see the examples that we have here with the credentials and whatnot. Yeah, finally, there's the reporting side. If you as a QA, if you as a QA and you don't have a way of sending your reports to a stakeholder, then your job is not done. And then you probably be seen as someone who is not does not know what needs to be done, right? So for you to ensure this, you have to add the output, the cases reporting feature, especially the HTML reporting feature. So this can help you to, create this. And already, Cases has a reporting feature, right, on the terminal, but you cannot just copy your terminal and go and present it to your stakeholder. You need something nice, something HTML friendly, something that is well designed, right, to give you that example. Let me just show you one example. Think I can do it. If I can just get one of those examples right now. So this is an example of the report. So you can see how beautiful and stylish it is, right? It can tell you, oh, I did a max of 10 users, and it started from 0 down to 10, right? You can see how beautiful the report is, and it can show you the checks and whatnot. You can say, okay, for those that pass this, for those that pass that, look at what we have, right? You can now make informed decisions. Like this one now, it says what 95%, like we mentioned earlier, 95%. So the requirement may be 5 or 700 or even 400. But if we say, let's say not more than 500 milliseconds, and you can see the report here, it says that it's less than 500 milliseconds, which means 95% of the endpoint that was hit actually made this threshold. That is why you have zero threshold breached. You can see it's zero threshold breached. Some of the failed endpoints, it's a way of checking pass and fail. So you have 200 and 400 to check. We have headers correctly and some other post requests that was done. So if they failed, you will see it as failure here. If they pass, if they failed, if you see that failure here, if they pass, you see it as passed here. So that is why this example test is like this. Any question? This is a bit technical. Any question so far? Should I continue? All right, so what we'll do is this. For your questions, we're dropping them on the chat. I think Adenike we pick them up and start asking me at the end of the session. Okay? All right, so now coming to the K6 Cucumber steps. This is the best part of the whole event. Now, like I mentioned, this one just make you just skip all the coding things, skip all the adding Chromium, adding this, adding that. It's getting me all confused. What if I don't know JavaScript? What if I don't know how to add exports and whatnot? I need something that will just tell me what I need to see, what I need to. In fact, I'm just coming into this software testing something. How do I get into these cases and start making use of it right away? This is where this comes in, the cases cucumber step. Like I mentioned, I'm an agnostic tester. What that means is I don't want to know if this is a testing tool. I don't want to know what it does. All I know is that will I be able to use it immediately? And tomorrow, if I say I want to jump into another tool, will I be able to use it immediately? I don't want to know what your name, whether your name is Cypress or your name is Playwright or your name is this. All I know is that if I have a tool that I'm using before, can I be able to move it immediately and just start making use of it? Even if it's your own tool I'm using. Let it be that, my script is still looking the same. Nobody knew what happened. Nobody said, oh, you've changed your code. None like that. Nothing like that. But under the hood, that is what happened. All I just did was I removed the package that is responsible for writing Playwright and then installed a package that is responsible for writing Cypress. That is what this case is now. Now, cases on its own is powerful, but cases cucumber step is even more powerful because it's not just involving the QAs, it's involving every other person in the software development lifecycle, right? It's involving the PM, it's involving the DevOps, it's involving everybody because once they look at it, they know what this is doing. They know exactly what this is doing. So the cases as Cucumber steps, right, brings behavioral driven development to performance testing, right? Testing, getting syntax, human readable scenarios that developers, QA, non-technical stakeholders all understand. And it brings the gap between what business requirements and test automation, right? That big gap. And one of the examples you see here, I make a get request slash API, can you call with params, ID, can you call. Simple English. Then what? The response should be what? 200. Simple English. Then the browser testing and navigate to xyz.com. Simple English. And I fill search with K6 and I should see result in page. Simple English, right? So I'm going to pause here. We're going to do one exercise right now. I'm going to share the Cucumber cases Cucumber steps on GitHub. I'm going to share it right now to the chat. Everybody go to your browser and like it and follow it right now before we move on. Give it a star and follow it before we move on. This will take only, why is this thing so sensitive like this? Eh? So I just dropped it on the chat. Everyone go now and just give it a star and then we are good. So this will just take like 2 minutes and then we're good. So while that is happening, we move on. All right. So this is where we have to do the entire project. So I'm going to do this now. Very simple, very easy to set up, and you would love it. Let us go to new window. So everybody, I'm currently on a new terminal, and in this terminal, I'm going to start the project immediately. So what I'm going to do is this. Normally, when you start your project, a node project, you do your npm init, right? But before then, let's open a folder. Let's just open a folder so that everybody can follow suit.
Yes.
Please, someone should mute, please.
Adeka. Sir?
Son, I've been buying, your sister have been buying it that I don't know that.
Yes.
Light standing.
Let's take it.
Okay. If you call them,
Adenika, are you on the call? Please mute that person.
I didn't.
All right. So
I think until
all right. So let's start K6, right? Let's just do this. Let's just create a project name called K6, right? Quality Techies. So you trust the app, right? And now we are on our project. So what are we going to do next? Remember, we're supposed to do a brew install, right? A brew install K6, right? Once you run this, I already have this on my system. Everything will be ready, right? Before your brew install, if you don't have brew on your Mac, right, you can simply just go Google brew. Simply go homebrew. And when you go to homebrew, just copy this, install it on just go to your terminal, paste it, and hit enter. And then brew will be installed on your system. And then you now do that brew install K6. It's as simple as that. So now with our Quality Techies project, let's just do brew install K6, and I've done that already. So next thing we need to do initiate our project, and that is what npm, right, init, right? To just create a package.json immediately, you just run -y, and it creates our package.json immediately. What else do we need? Now we already have our package.json, our project is ready. The next thing we need to do is what? We say npm install K6 what? Cucumber steps, right? And just hit enter. Oh, sorry. I think I made a mistake. I omitted the S steps, and then you hit enter. So this will automatically install the K6 and the K6 Cucumber steps into your machine. So after you've done that, right, you can see it here, K6 Cucumber steps, right? Now we are ready. Now you'll be probably thinking, oh, how do I structure my project? I know I'm doing performance testing, but how do I structure my program? I'm very new to this. No need to do that. If you go to the npm npm cases cucumber steps, if you go there, right? It gives you everything that you need. You see it here, you just install the cases coping bar steps, copy it, and the next thing you need to do is this one, initiate the project. So you can either initiate the project like us now that we have a project like this, right? Just initiate the project. But if you don't have a project already, you can just say, okay, let me generate it. Let me call my project name, project, whatever. You can add this part to it. Now, here's the cool part. If you just put it this way, I hope everybody can see my terminal very well if I have to increase the terminal size. So if you just see it this way, you will find out that if you just install it like this, you will find out that it's going to generate the cases Cucumber step profile. Sorry, I made a mistake. That's not the place to be. Yeah. To create the project in TypeScript. So if we do this, cases Cucumber steps init is going to create the project structure complete. Everything that has to do with the project to get started immediately is going to be done. You can see your package of JSON, you can see your steps, you can see your features, example features that you need to copy and paste. You don't need anything else, just something that you can use as an example to copy and paste whatever your requirements in your company is about. So you have a port folder when everything is done, it's going to pass into, and it's going to help you generate the cases script all by yourself. That will be in that, it's in other things like data and whatnot. So it also created a README file for you, right? To help you understand what needs to be done and what needs not to be done, right? So check out the project and the package.json. It keeps your project name, it keeps the version of your project, it tells us what it's about, right? And then also gives you some common scripts that you might need while doing this. You can change this as the author, right? You can change this as the author. Someone is using annotations. So you can keep the, you can take out this and take out and, put your name there or whatever someone who's responsible for, handling the project that you're currently on. And then these are the things that you probably need. You need the TypeScript, you need the K6 file. Like I mentioned, it will automatically provide these things for you inside. Now, after doing that, cases, whatever, right, in it will tell you the next step. What's the next step? It's telling you, you can now run npm install, and then next you run this. Now, the npm install, as we know, we install all the dependencies. Right? So I'll just do that now. Just do this, npm install, right? What is it saying that I should do next? That I should do this next, right? Because we are doing this in TypeScript, right? That's why you see the L for language, TypeScript. So we'll now do this, and then boom, we have new things here on the generated. What does it mean? It means that we have our files ready for test, right? Ignore the errors you see there, they are normal. And then you just have to, start running tests. So the next thing they said is npm test. Let's look at the npm test here. It says what? Cases run what? Generated, which is the folder here, and the test name, which is what? This one. So you can see that the script I said the last time on the presentation, it was cases run script.js. But since we are on TypeScript, it's now TS based on name that we gave it. And it's the directory that the test right now is. That's where it's being called in this npm test, right? So that's basically how it works. So if I just simply doing this, all this step, and just run it, it will just run for you. This is not our, how will I put it? the requirements, but this is just a default test that is there. Let us explore the feature files. Now, this one demonstrates like all the auths that you can possibly have, right? Let's close the terminal for now. We don't need it. Let's close this. Now, look at it. As I mentioned, you say, oh, on the background is like your precondition, right? For those of us who understand test cases, it's like your precondition, right? So background, that's what background represents. And feature is like your test suite, right? So authentication examples, that's what it means. And your background says what? The base URL is what? This. It's as simple as that. Now, for your scenarios, as you see, I commented out some of the scenarios because they're more like the same thing. So for this one now, you see this, it says what? Base URL, right, is what? Demo QA, and then what is there? The authorized and username and password. Like I'm talking to you right now, this script works. This script works. These are live credentials, right? That can help you understand how it works. So you know the demo QA here is like the base URL. We're not using this base URL right now. We are using this base URL, right? And then we're using it to validate this. Then this second one, right, is using this base URL. I just did it like that to give you an example of how you can structure your test. So I intend to run just this particular script, right? I don't intend to run auth example. So let us go to our package.json. So running our auth example, we first of all need to generate auth example. I know we generated everything. We actually generated everything when we said generate. So everything came up, but I just want to generate auth example. What will I do? That's one thing that we should think about. So now to do that, we can still use the same thing, right? Terminal. We'll go back to that guy that says generate, right? Next thing we say just the feature, which is -f, right? And then we call in the feature directory, right? So we'll do this and call in the feature directory, right? Just add this to the front so that make sure that it knows where it is. And then when that happens, just hit enter. Now we've hit enter, it has generated a new file, right? It has regenerated a new file. And in this new file, it's just having the test that we need, right? It's just having the test that we need. So what's the next thing we need to do now is to run our test. So on that same package.json, we can now do this npm run test. You can see some of the tests are running. Some of the validations are checking, and then it's running the test for us to let us understand our requirement. So if I come to this part, you will find out that I have a requirement here. Can you see? I want virtual users to be just two virtual users. If I wish to change it, I can change it. If I wish to leave it as it is, I can leave it as it is. If I wish to add more, like iterations, right? I say add iterations, just like we saw in our listen and say, I want it to run 5 times or 3 times or 4 times, and then go back again and do the generate so that it can add the iterations to its test requirement. So our test is done. You can see the test says what successful using JSON form, right? And using form data. You can see it here. If you want to use JSON, you just leave it as it is. But if you want to use any other way, you can just say as form, right? So that is how it works. So let us go back and see our results. You can see on the report here, we have 2 files, the summary report HTML and the raw JSON file. Let's open this. Boom, our result is ready. Everything passed. Let's look at it. We have how many requests failed? There's no request that failed. So the failure rate is 0, right? Let's look at the test runs. So they look at the test run, like I mentioned, minimum what? 2 virtual users and maximum is 2 virtual users, right? And then what? How many passed? 44 passed and total iterations, right? Defaults of 22, right? Because there are 2 virtual users that we are using. So that's why it's 44 2 iterations each. So we check the groups. You can see the validations, right? 100 pass each of them, they passed, and it's telling us what it did. It initialized the group login. After much, it cleaned it up. The same thing here, right? That is what happened here. And your report is ready for what? For stakeholders. And when you're giving them the report, because this is a HTML, it needs a data, like it needs a backend. So that is why this JSON result.json is here. This is where it fetches all the data. If you delete this, everything wipes off. This is where it fetches the data. So you just gather your reports, send it to your stakeholders, and once they read it, or you can discuss with them how the report is about, and then you give it to them, everything is fine. Now, if you intend to do browser test, I know everybody is itching to understand browser test, but let's look at this sample.feature. Other things are here too, right? Some of the things that we spoke about on the call, which is what? Group. We talked about group, right? User API and all of that. We can talk about threshold. We talked about threshold. So you see now, we talked about this one that says what? HTTP request duration, 95% less than this. Just put it on top. And the Cucumber, cases Cucumber steps knows what to do. Okay, I want it to be 1,000, I want it to be 500, I want it to be it knows what to do. Now, we talked about stages, right? We talked about stages, and we talked about how you want something to start with 0, and in the next 20 seconds, you want it to start with 10 users, and then later in 30 seconds, it sticks with 10 users and ramps down in 10 seconds to 0. That is exactly what it is. And you can actually do this with multiple endpoints. You can see it here right now, where you get to add maybe user ID, because the user ID here is tagged as like a variable, like a variable. So you just put it here and use your examples here, right? So the user ID says here, and I see response should be what? Expected results. So it's catching user ID and expected result here in these 2 data tables. So what happens is this. It first of all picks this one, puts it here, check the results with it. Later it picks this one, puts it here, checks the results, and the same thing here. This one too, wonderful. Just like you would do your normal API testing, right? And you just put your API endpoint here. It picks it from what? The base URL here, because there's no base URL under this scenario. You can add it if you want a specific base URL. So you put it here, and then you just put your slash endpoint, and then check for your validation. There are other ways to check validations, right? And then you can see one here, contain name, and some other things, right? And then at the end of the day, you get your report. If I decide now to run it, you should see how it works. But I've already shown you the reports in the past. Initially, when I introduced the HTML dashboard, that's exactly the report that came out using this, what they call it, using this sample.feature. We move on to sample for browsers, right? Just like I mentioned, when we were looking at the presentation.ai, right? When we're looking at the presentation, when we're looking at the presentation, I was showing you about how the browser works. You add Chromium, you add this. These are already been handled. You don't need to know anything about that anymore. You know the basics now, that's fine, but I want to make impact, right? This is how you make impact. Now, simple thing again, the base URL. You give the base URL using automation, right? Now, what is this? I should fill what? Practice form successfully. It navigates to slash the page. It hits the first name, it hits the last name, it gives it the first name and last name, and then it what gives it every other field, clicks on every other thing, and then it's what does this. So I'm going to just run this. These are all LR examples. They are not actually they're not based on the application, but what you can actually use, right? Just templates, basically. So I'm just going to do this and then try to generate browser tests. So now I'm going to do this. So instead of auth.sample, I'm going to do browser, right? Browser sample for it to generate browser sample for me. Now we are ready for browser test. Now I run the command that I ran before, which is npm test, right? So npm what? Test. npm run test. Is it npm run test? Yeah, npm run test. So npm run test will run it normally. It won't give you the headed version of it where you get to see everything on the UI, right? So I know you want to see it on the UI, so let us do that. I'm going to cancel this and just do this npm test UI because it already have the whatnot. So I'm going to do npm test UI. So let's wait for it to launch the browser. Oh, I think there is an oh, apologies. It did the test, it passed it, but I did not actually tell it that it should make it headed. That's where the problem is. K6 underscore browser. Sorry. K6 browser head less. I think this should be false. False. I hope I got the command right. So with this, we should see it pop up. Yeah. So now we're going to look at it live as it runs the test. I hope everyone can see the browser as it pops up. Beautiful. So we now have our test complete and everything ran successfully. You can see it here. And what's happened here? Field form with this, field form with that, this with this, all of that beautifully and well done, right? So because we omitted some of those other tests, you can see it here. Okay, this is just the init and cleanup. Okay, that's fine. This is the init and cleanup. So you can see now that we have created the test and then we are seeing all these things. If something failed, you will definitely see where it's failed because maybe this place will not read and whatnot, and you have to debug it pretty fine. So everything looks like a well-structured test. Let's look at our results. So the browser test is different from other things, right? So you can see data received, data sent, all of that to check the health of your listen. And then what? There's no failure rates, right? And then what next? Because it's a browser, right? We have to look at it at the minimum rate and in terms of virtual users and iteration. I don't want my system to crash, right? So I had to reduce the iteration. But most times your iteration, your virtual users should be more than your iteration, right? So that's basically it. So you can see the checks here that says the test should be what should submit, right? So it's validating, thanks for submitting the form, and it's saying that it should be visible, and that is why you have pass here and you have your 100% pass here. Quick one. Yes, cases can do automation, UI automation very well. That's fine. But separation of concerns is key. You should use Playwright or any other UI test automation that you desire, Selenium, whatever, to do your UI test automation so that you can have good separation of concern. But yes, cases can actually run tests. You can just use it for probably a load test and whatnot, but don't create a full regression script on it, right? So basically that's what I can tell you. But the package helps you do all these things in one. Now we move. Where's our quality techie? Yeah. Now we move. So you can see now that every single thing that we have here helps us. You can also do this. You can also say K6, whatnot, tag browser. Now, I want you to understand something, right? Cases will only look for browser, any test that has browser for you to run UI test automation. If it does not have browser, if it does not have at browser, it will not pick it. That is one thing you should know. If it does not have, if you want to run UI test automation with the cases, if it does not have tag at browser, the cases Coquimba steps will not pick it. So bear in mind that. And any scenario that you have, you must always have browser. So if you have like all these scenarios ramped down here, there's no need for you to put it on the scenario level. You can put it on the feature level at the browser here. And then it will pick everything at once and then run them. Now, we've seen the reporting feature. We've seen this. Now let's go back to our presentation. Now, please hear this. We've done all this, right? We've generated and we've ran the test and we've automized and we've done the iteration, right? Now, one of the good things, I made mention earlier that you that is using Playwright, I have something for you. And if you're already using K6, this is also good for you, right? The K6 Coquimba steps. The advantage of it is that just as K6 is good for load testing and everything, you can merge K6 projects and Playwright Cucumber projects together in one project. That means when you have this guy, Playwright Cucumber steps, right? I'm going to share it to the team as well. So that you can go there, like it, and store it as one of your go-to tools so that you can start making of it immediately, right? Immediately. So everybody, I've sent it to the chat. Go there, give it a star, and then follow me, right? Because I'll be bringing new stuffs to this, and this is not like the end. Like there are other tools that we need to jump on, right? And this is just one of those tools that I spoke about in the past, which is the cases and the Playwright Cucumber steps. So combining K6 Cucumber steps and Playwright Cucumber -TS steps, you have, gotten to that point where they can call you Agba QA, because everything is running in the same syntax, in the same project, giving you the same quality results, and stakeholders will be happy. So let's take this out. So now, if you want to know more about, K6 and everything, you can reach out to, you can go to cases.io/docs, right? Check all the API reference, try to understand it before you start using the cases Cucumber step. Try to understand what it does, right? So that you can be able to draft out very good requirements. Then you can also go to their blog, right? For latest tutorial, best practices and whatnot. Because you don't just use my own code, you can actually add your own to the projects that you currently have, right? What I mean by that is this. If you have a step that you feel like I did not cover, right? After going through it, you can add the step here, sample step. You can add it, just add it. See now, the page should be whatever, right? You can just create your own function and say, okay, you don't have XYZ. I cannot double click. You can create your own function and add it, right? And then use it in your feature file. Generate it and it will work. Because most times when you add the English here, when you say, let me give you an example. Let me just give you an example here. I made it so dynamic so that you can understand that creativity is all that you need, right? Scenario. So here, so this one said, I authenticate with the following URL, clinical. Now I take this out, right? I take this out and I want to do the generate. That is the last step, right? Sample browser auth. It generated. But when I get to the generation part, I found out that I authenticate clinical is saying red. That is because it's not there, right? It's not there. The one I did was there, but this one is not there, right? This is the one I did. We cleaned it up. But this one now is creating a page object that we don't have the step for it. So what do? You copy it, right? And then you come here, you create a function, right? And then call it that thing, bam. And then do the whatever action that page that cases I've told you how to do, right? The real cases code. And then you just put it here. And then you are fine. You have created your own custom steps, which is awesome, right? That's how beautiful this cases cooking bar step is. Create it, enjoy it, populate your sample steps, and then you will be fine, right? And that brings about the end of this workshop, right? Thank you very much, right, for everything. Don't forget to go to the cases cooking bar steps, go and like and follow me. Follow my profile, right? And then anything that you feel that you need me to do after now, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, right? And then we can look at how to listen. So I'm going to give, right, an assessment, right? I'm going to give an assessment here. I don't know how I'll reach out and get that assessment, Mr. Adenike. Please find a way that I can get those assessments and try to, all of you can even email me the assessments. I can look at them and then know what's up. Pick your platform, pick whatever platform that you wish to pick on this, and then I would look at them and try to comment on those assessments. Because the best way to learn is to practice, right? And that's the best way to learn. So just try as much as possible to do that, and then everything in there. So thank you, and happy testing. So Adenike there?
Oh, sorry, I've been talking. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, yeah.
Thank you. It was really an insightful session. Thank you. We really appreciate. We've learned a lot for this moment we had together. I'll sorry. All right. Okay, so I'll take the assessment from you and get it across to the members of the Quality Techies. We have a WhatsApp community. If you're not there, I'll drop it on the chat. You can also follow Quality Techies at YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. This recorded session will be posted on our YouTube channel, so you can just go over there and watch. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. So if you're interested in a one-on-one training, you can also send an email to me or message me via chat. I'll take that across to Mr. Pascal. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you on WhatsApp. You can just hold on for a while. I'm getting the link and I'll drop it on the chat right away.
Are there questions? Are there questions that I can address?
Oh, all right. I think I missed that. There are questions. Okay. Okay, someone dropped a question that what command would you need to run if it is JavaScript project rather than a TypeScript project?
Okay, there is not much difference on that. So that's a very wonderful question. If you go to, let me share my screen again. Just let me know if the screen is on. Can you see my screen? These people and their UI is bad. Can you see my screen? I didn't get this. Okay.
Yes, we can see your screen.
So everything you need is on this NPM part, right? Everything you need. So if you want that of, JavaScript, all you just need to is to pass the language L and say JS, and it will scaffold JavaScript project for you. If you don't even have a folder that you've opened on your VS Code, you can say init and call the folder name. It will create the project in the folder and then still tell you to cd to the folder before you can now start your project properly. So if you don't put anything, it gives you in TypeScript. If you even still put something and still put TS here, it will still give you in TypeScript. But if you don't want to use TypeScript, you can just put it in what? JavaScript, and it will give you JavaScript project. But as you know, TypeScript majorly is better than JavaScript, and that is why the default is TypeScript. So most of you probably be using TypeScript, right, for your generation. You can see everything you need here. Init has a JS or a TS. It has the force to overwrite stuff, right? Understanding the command, right? The dash F that would do, or you can do dash dash feature and then call the parts. You can see it here like we did it on this end, right? And then there's also a tag, right? Like I mentioned, smoke, hot, whatever. You can just put it at smoke. It will pick all the tests that has to do with smoke test, and then you run it. You can do at load test, and can pick load test, at regression test and whatnot, just like a Cucumber would, right? To run, right, at the same time as it. You can just do all of that. So there are some example here, and also the ones that will be scaffolded on your project once you do your init. Everything is ready for you to use. No excuses. No, I don't know how to run it. No, I don't know how to do this. Everything is ready on the project, scaffolded. Everything has been done clear and clean, right? For you to just copy and paste and put your own requirements. Do you understand? Put your own requirements. This is where you come in, you say, oh, what are the requirements? Do you want us, is our endpoint taking 1,000 users? Is our endpoint response time up to 1,000 or 1,000 milliseconds or 5,000 milliseconds? Everything here you put here in terms of it, and then you just enjoy your test automation. I'm telling you, it doesn't feel like test automation, but it is actually the full test automation that you have. So well done, guys. They'll start giving you impact, giving you your accolades immediately. What other question do we have?
Okay. So someone has asked that he is new to testing. What do you advise him?
All right. So one of the things that I'll tell you right? Background foundation is very important. Pick up the ISTQB foundation level and documents. Just Google ISTQB. Every ISTQB website has that document. Download it. Start learning about the terminologies and everything that you need to know, right? After that, then you can now start understanding some other things. And there's so many YouTube videos that can teach you manual testing. Even there are some Udemy videos that are free that can teach you software testing in general. So you just sit down, take that time, work on yourself, put more effort in your growth. And at the end of the day, picking this up will just be very easy for you. Because if I say something like test suite, you will not understand at the moment. But when you have that document ready for you and then you study it, give it 2-3 days, you are done with that document, you know everything that needs to be done. So yeah. Any other question?
All right. How can just a minute. How do we automate tests to run at intervals and send notifications to the assigned recipients?
Are you trying to use it as a feature or use it as a test?
Chinozo, that question is for you to clarify.
Because if you want to run it at intervals, that means you have to scale through the CI/CD process and create a cron job. That cron job will help you set the times that you're supposed to run that test to send the notification. Yes, you can use it not as test, but a way of automating your process. But there are other ways to automate process now. AI is helping us with that, workflows and the likes. Don't use, my recommendation is to use that and not under the hood K6. Yes, you can call K6 APIs to do your workflows. That's fine. That's very fine. But there are other ways you can do this.
Okay. Thank you for that. How do you handle authentication mechanisms?
Okay, so I don't think loading OTPs is something that you'd want to do. Load test OTPs, right? Because it's calling a service, right? And that service may not be yours, the one that sends the OTP. The service may not be yours. So the test will not actually become, how will I put it? It will not reflect properly, right? Because you can load your test and be sending the OTP and the OTP fails, right? Because the service provider that provides OTP, right, probably said either you don't have sufficient OTP to be sent again, or their own service is failing based on the too many requests. So another thing again is that some of these tests, it's actually configurable. It's actually configurable. It just, as you configure it probably in a Cypress, it's the same way you configure it in a listen, because those things probably require API keys and all. So setting it is actually something that is possible, but I wouldn't recommend.
All right, thank you for that. Someone has asked a question about how to get the recording. I dropped the link, your YouTube channel for Quality Techies on the chat. Just follow that. Immediately that is dropped, you'll get a notification and you can have access to the recording. Then another question is there an advantage doing performance testing on the UI as opposed to using the service method?
Yes. It's not like you are changing one for the other, right? It's not like you are changing one for the other. It's just that now you want to understand how your data is being sent when running the UI, how the user is interacting, right? So that's just it. But basically, it's just to run your normal test, UI test automation, right? UI test automation. It's just telling you that, okay, you can run API test, check it at the API level, and then you can also run UI test. It's just a feature that Case added, right? But they have their own different requirements, so to speak. So there's nothing like Looking like that. So I see somebody saying, what's different between JMeter and K6? Well, when I was using JMeter, I found out that when I try to load test on my PC, right, it takes a lot of memory, a lot, like it drags it, right? Already Java is a big programming language, right? It's not something that is not lightweighted. And then you're now trying to do a load test using JMeter. You will not have a lot of bandwidth, right? Especially when your PC is not that good. But with cases, you can do up to 1,000 users, and your system will still be trying to, still do something about it, right? So the difference is very clear, right? Another difference is reporting feature, right? It's very clear. Cases has an instant reporting, wonderful way of reporting. The HTML itself is an added advantage, but if you check the terminal, you can understand what is happening there. You can see the pass and fail just like you would see in normal testing environment. So basically, they're just far from each other. That's just it.
All right. Someone has indicated interest in one-on-one. So I'll drop my number here. For all others that are interested, you could just, that will be my WhatsApp number. I'll add you to the community. Then we can just collate the numbers of people that will be interested in one-on-one training and forward it to Mr. Pascal. So here is another question. I have a login process that requires OTP. How do I run several virtual users with the OTP generation? I was able to automate the process of going to your mail, but how does this script know which OTP to use for the respective request sent, assuming you have 200 virtual users?
So there's always an endpoint that pushes that OTP. You have to get that endpoint, right? And the endpoint should be, how will I put it? Just like I mentioned in the feature file, right, where we had a user, the example user, right, the example file that says user 1, user 2, and user 999, right? So those 8 OTPs will be split into 3. So it's writing the test simultaneously, it's running the test simultaneously, but simultaneously, he's picking whatever OTP that was given by the OTP endpoint and storing it, right? All you just need to do is to write a proper scripting, right? That's why I said you don't just stop at knowing cases Cucumber step. You have to understand scripting in general. This one now has to do with JavaScript, right? This one has to do with JavaScript. You have to understand how to store data, right? And then use that data to run your script. So you are like chaining a request, right? You are chaining a request. So you're chaining a request from logging and sending your OTP. These are 3 requests now, I think. You're sending the request, right? OTP endpoint. You are checking for OTP endpoints because that request that you are sending has an ID. You're using that ID to check the OTP for that ID. And then the OTP object, you are storing that OTP object, and then you are now retrieving it from Yolk Mail. So what this means is that you have to use that stored data to fix in the OTP. That's what it means. These are the 3 steps. And you're saying you're going to Yolk Mail to get this. That's on the UI. Yolk Mail does not have an API that helps you get those things, right? So that's on the UI. That means you have to do the automation on the UI. And believe you me, it's something that I've done before. Just like you just normally manually go and get to Yolk Mail and do it. That's how you will do it. But when you are running a browser test, the iteration is small. The number of users is small. So all those things matter a lot. Don't forget, you are doing OTP for different users. That means they have different user emails. That means Yolk Mail can still work with that for browser test.
All right. The last question I have here is, which would you recommend? Playwright with JavaScript or Playwright with TypeScript?
This is just your preference, right? But I prefer Playwright with TypeScript, right? But this is just your preference. They are one and the same, honestly, but this is just your preference.
Okay, I think the last question will come from me. So a lot of us that have used JBeta, so we always have this issue in most of our organizations. So they come up with an application and they just tell us to go ahead to use performance testing tool to estimate load test and performance test without actually providing a requirement documentation. So from your experience, can you just recommend as a performance tester when you are testing an application? So what's the best practices and standard response time when you interact with an application? Maybe you are interacting with the application, you are logging it. What should be the expected response time for, let's say, one user in 1 second, 10 users in a number of seconds? So
Okay.
that's my question.
All right. Adenike, so the thing is, once everything has to do with the system, the requirements of the company. But the standard one is if it passes 8 seconds in terms of response time, that API has failed. That's a
You mean
failed
for a
API.
single user?
For a single
For a
user, it's
single
not working.
user.
Yes, if it
Okay.
passes 8 seconds, it's not working. You cannot get optimal listen, right?
Okay.
So you can put the threshold 5 for your company. But if it passes 8 seconds, always flag it, because they'll always have problems. They'll
Okay.
always have problems with that endpoint. So even if it stays for a long time, it works. And it always works after 8 seconds. It's still an issue. They still need to fix it. So 8 seconds is the highest you should allow an endpoint to run for a single user.
Okay, one other question just popped in now. So what's the best practice? Are you to conduct performance testing on a test environment or a live environment?
So live environment is better because most of the tests you'll be doing anyway is going to be a GET request for your performance. It's going to be a GET request. So live environment is better. Try to break the system. But just to be on the safe side, because if the system breaks, everybody will not access your PC, right? Will not access your platform rather. So you can do it on the sandbox, the one that replicates um, you know, um prod, right?
Okay.
The same, pointing to the same thing, but different database, right? So they'll just copy whatever is in prod, right? All the users and everything, whatever is in prod, and put it on sandbox for your demo environment. Then you can run that test. So if it fails, you now know that your system will fail if Black Friday comes. You all notice what happens on Black Friday, right? System shut
Yeah,
down and
yeah.
all. That is because the threshold capacity has been breached, basically. Would you people like me to do a negative test on thresholds? I can run a negative test on threshold right now. If it passes the
All right,
capacity.
you can go ahead. I think we still have time.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen again.
Right.
So this time, I'll probably have to just share. Let me just share listen, just let me know if you can see it. So this is a P less than 500, right? And if you notice, our test case was saying 300. It was doing 300 and all, right? It was able to do 300. So let's do 200, less than milliseconds of 200. So we are doing sample, right? So let's generate sample. Okay, we never did sample actually. We never ran sample. So let's generate sample. So sample is done. So just run sample now. And see there, it said virtual user 10, right? That's because we have a virtual user here 10. And we said under 1 minute, right? That's why we have it. So it will do this ramp, pretty sure of it. And to also do this one. This is the one that we are looking at, the threshold, right? We did not do it for every scenario. We just did it for this guy. So you can see what they wrote here. Threshold or matrix request duration has been crossed. Let's look at the results. Failed checks. See, it's 300 something. That is the check that we're talking about. So here, you can see that we set 200 and it's 385. So you can see that we actually didn't meet up. He said 95 of them did this. 90 of them did this. So even here, it still failed, right? If I said, okay, 85 or 21 or something, it probably would have passed. So all the failed cars, so you see the failure rate, right? 14% of them didn't meet up, right? That is 59% of them passed, right? So we are saying now that we need to make sure that our endpoint stays under 200 milliseconds, less than a second, less than a second. Do you understand? So we need to keep it at quarter a second, right? This is what you start saying. Or you give them a very wonderful this and say, wonderful, less than 500 milliseconds, our endpoints are working. This is a positive feedback for all of us. That means our system is fast and whatnot. That is exactly what happened. Threshold breached, right? Yes, everything passed, but threshold still breached. That's what it means, right? So that's it. So there's this other person that was talking about oh yes, it's true. I did not share the HTML dashboard part, right? You didn't see that, right? The team did not see that. I was only sharing the VS Code. Let me stop sharing and share that again. Share entire screen here. So let me just share it again. So this is what I was clamoring about. It did not get to the threshold of 200, 95%, right? And that is why we have this failure rate 14%. Only 59 was able to reach that 200, and others, right, failed. So that's why we have this threshold breach, failed requests, and checks. So you can look at it, see it passed, but the threshold was the problem. So that's basically it for it. So I want to now go to the guy that said he wants to understand how it will scaffold if we have um if we have uh sorry JS file JS, yeah, JS readme I'm taking out all the files that are likely to be in there. So now npm run test. We're supposed to start with init, right? So this guy that says npm init, you just do language JS. And then it will scaffold JS for you. So you can see the steps now is in JS. See it, the steps now is in JS. Everything is ready for you to start working. And then all you just need to do now is to still follow the same process and then run your test. That's all. You run your npm install, run your this, and start your test. Yeah. That's all. So, Adenike, over to you.
All right. Thank you for your time today. I'll get back to you on the number of people that are interested in the one-on-one training with you. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate your presence this evening. Can you drop emojis to show that you really appreciate today's training session? Thank you. And thank you all for joining. All right. See you all in the WhatsApp space. For those that have not joined, just go to the link. I already dropped it, and just follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube. It's still the same handle at Quality Techies. Thank you. Bye, and have a great weekend ahead. Bye for now.
Yeah, bye.